Premier League predictions, round 35. Spurs versus Arsenal, Liverpool versus Burnley, Man United versus Southampton.
This is the first drink I've had since Oxford got into the playoff final, so cheers everybody. Hello everybody and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions for another round of Premier League predictions. The season is nearing its conclusion and you may be mercifully glad to know that these videos might get a little bit shorter as teams have a little bit less to play for, and also because we haven't seen every single side play from the round before. As always, we put timestamps down in the description, so you can go and check that out if you want to jump ahead to certain games, as well as using the chapters feature on the YouTube video itself. But really, just, take a load off, sit down, relax, and just drink it all in. And you'll want to stay... Exactly. And you'll want to stay around till the end of the video, because Tom will be giving shout-outs to everybody that commented on our previous video, as well as giving out handwritten notes to everybody's home address. How are you getting on with those handwritten notes, Tom?
Tottenham Hotspur versus Arsenal.
Yes, a North London derby kicks us off for this round. An exciting fixture, a juggernaut of a fixture to find out which North London side rules the middle of the Premier League. I, of course, am going to talk about Arsenal because they're still on a fantastic run and Tom can't go, get back. Can't go anywhere near them until they lose a game, but they're not going to lose a game anytime soon. Arsenal play a really good 1-1 draw with Leicester City. It looked a lot more like the Arsenal that you'd want to see from Mikel Arteta. They looked pretty similar to how they did against Wolves. Certainly in the first half, they played with a lot of energy, a lot of pace, certainly moving the ball forward. There wasn't any of that Wenger slow build-up stuff. It was get the ball, get it forward, let the likes of Sacco, Aubameyang and Lacazette just run at this Leicester side. They caused them all sorts of problems. It was only down to Kasper Schmeichel's heroics that kept the score down to 1-0 at half-time. Second half, Leicester were a different animal. It was very much Arsenal backs to the wall defending, trying to hit them on the break. Game changed on a red card. Tom, have you seen the red card?
Yes, it's a red card.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, we both agree on that. I know there was talk about, Arteta was unhappy with the referee going to the monitor, but regardless of how you come to the decision, it is the correct decision, and Nketiah's not meant to hurt him, but he has fouled him. It is a reckless challenge. Letter of the law, he has to go. I am afraid, Gunners fans, but as you're looking such a better side, and you certainly are going to put Jose in his place in North London, I felt if I go against Arsenal in this one, Tom, it would like be travelling back in time and kicking a teenage version of myself squarely in the nuts. So I'm not going to do any of that. It's going to be Tottenham Hotspur 1, Arsenal 3.
You literally are on just cloud cuckoo land. It's going to be a 3-2 win to Spurs in this match. Fantastic result, a 1-0 win over Everton. They're full of oh no, they're not. This is probably the most boring Spurs side we've seen in a while, but Mourinho loves games like this. He's built to challenge teams that have high possession rates. He's got Harry Kane, he's got Son. The players look like they're up for it. Obviously, the highlighted incident from that Spurs match was Son Heung-min and Hugo Lloris, shouting at him.
What is it with Son against Everton? He has to make himself the star, doesn't he?
He does. He is the star. Heinous leg breaker Son Heung-min. But no, I don't think I have to say a lot about Spurs. We talked them to death. They have not played yet. They're playing Bournemouth. Obviously, Bournemouth are going to tatter them into the ground, which means they're going to come here. But I actually think Spurs are going to overhaul Arsenal. They've done it, I swear, like the last 2 or 3 years. They've managed to be behind them at some point and still come out in front. Do you remember when Arsenal were second in the league and Spurs were third, and somehow Arsenal just dropped down?
The last thing I remember about Arsenal is the Invincibles.
Okay, that sounds like a classic Arsenal fan. Anyway, Spurs 3, Arsenal 2.
Bournemouth versus Leicester City.
Haven't seen the Bournemouth result, but obviously they've beaten Spurs to give them a great chance of staying up. I can't do that. Even if Bournemouth play incredibly, this would be one of the greatest escapes in history if they manage to survive it, and I do not see it happening. And Leicester City seem to have been revived. They weren't terrible against Arsenal. They were put under the cosh, but Arsenal were playing pretty good football. I think Leicester will beat this Bournemouth side. I'm sorry, Eddie. I love you. I love this team. But I'm going to have to go with a Leicester City 2-0 win.
Yeah, even Josh King came out in the papers, didn't he, last couple of days and said they're not good enough to be in the Premier League. So it is a real shame. They seem to just be meeting sides at the wrong time as well. Like this Leicester side, you met them a couple of weeks ago. You'd have fancied Bournemouth a little bit more, but they seem bang in form now. They played really well, particularly in the second half against Arsenal. But in that first half, even when they were under the cosh, they did defend well. And obviously, when you've got a quality keeper as well, when called upon, he makes great saves. Second half looked a lot better. Jamari Gray, great assist in for Vardy. Vardy scores, back in the goals. Doesn't look good for Bournemouth, does it? I promise you I'm not going to go for every score this week being 3-1, but this is my second 3-1. So it'll be Bournemouth 1, Leicester 3.
Brighton and Hove Albion versus Manchester City.
City have just absolutely battered Newcastle by 5-0.
It should have been 10. Somebody on our channel predicted 12. I could have seen it.
Look, we say about this pretty much every week on the channel. At some point, City are just going to give someone an absolute hiding. Even could have, as you say, it could have been double figures. It was a real mauling. But that is the backlash for the one against Southampton, where literally they fell 1-0 behind, absolutely battered Southampton. Southampton's keeper had a game and a half, probably the game of his life, to keep them at bay, and they ended up with another defeat. Unbelievable how many games this Manchester City side has lost in the season. You can't imagine they'll lose anywhere near that amount next season. No. Brighton, pretty much done and dusted for the year, but they did just put in a good performance against Liverpool. It shows that they're not giving up just quite yet. No. But City will win this, I think. I think it'll be Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Manchester City 3.
I sense a theme here, Ian. I thought Brighton were decent against Liverpool. Dan Burn misses a chance in like the 54th minute. I think he's on the far post, and from there on in, you just go.
Just to interject, sorry, especially when you you literally hand Liverpool a 2-0 head start in the first 10 minutes. They did well.
Yeah, they're really well drilled. But Man City, I'm still totally confused by their result against Southampton. But I think they had something like 20 shots on goal to Southampton's like 1, and I don't see those results being common. And I'm going to be honest, I feel bad for Brighton here because I think they're going to lose 4-0.
Champions of England, Liverpool versus Burnley.
I'm still choosing not to listen to you when you announce these teams, but I'm going to talk about Burnley and let you talk about some team. I don't know. They play in red. They're from the North.
I would like us to possibly do a guard of honour every time we do a Liverpool one.
Yeah, there we go. Burnley, really good. I think they've moved up to 8th. They're a point or two behind Arsenal at this point. They're having an absolutely fantastic season. Jay Rodriguez hit a beauty of a header today against West Ham United. I mean, he jumps in front of Cresswell and he just deftly flicks it over. And Jay Rodriguez might be one of the forgotten men of the Premier League. He's been around for ages. He's scored goals everywhere he goes, but it's just Jay Rodriguez.
Great goal again today. Really good goal.
And Nick Pope, I mean, oh my freaking God. You don't want to follow exactly what Sky are saying and what BT and everyone are saying, but like ridiculous. Just he's been fantastic. I think he has 14 clean sheets in the league now, which is just an unprecedented number of clean sheets for a Premier League goalkeeper. Absolutely nuts. Almost half the games he's played. And Burnley looked really good. They looked really solid. And after the game, they kept interviewing Sean Dyche and trying to get him to give plaudits to Nick Pope. And he just kept saying, it's the team, it's the team, it's the team. We believe a certain way. We do a certain thing. Our defenders throw themselves on the line. That's why Nick throws himself on the line. And,
Didn't Nick Pope sleep with Sean Dyche's wife?
Actually, Sean Dyche gave him his wife. He said, it's okay. Just keep stopping the ball from going in.
That is teamwork.
I'm totally off track now. No idea where I was going with that. So all I'm going to say here is it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, Burnley are the 1-0 kings, and they seem to have mastered it since the break. You've not got Liverpool to win. Wow, shocking. I think Liverpool haven't given up at all. They had a lacklustre performance against Aston Villa, but they got the job done. But this game I've just seen them play against Brighton just shows me that they still want to win every game till the end of the season. They want to get 100 points. They haven't given up in any way, shape or form. They were 3-1 up and coasting and still pressing, harrying Brighton right until up the final minute trying to get that fourth goal. So I think Liverpool will just be too strong, although this will be a really good test to see how good this Burnley defence is in this game. I think it will be Liverpool 3, Burnley 1.
Oh God, Ian!
Watch out! The Eagles are coming.
Because it's Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace.
Can't stress this enough. This is crunch time for Villa. This is a must-win game. We haven't seen them play Manchester United yet, but Man United are in such good form. You have to assume that they would have got something out of that game. They've come off Liverpool and Man United. That's 2 games they wouldn't have expected to win. They're entering into games now that not only would they be expected to take points from, they need to take points from. They've got to make up 4 points on the likes of Watford and West Ham, and that's obviously just hoping that they don't pick up any more points as well. It is a absolutely huge game, and if Villa don't win it, I think they're down, and unfortunately, Villa fans, I don't see you winning it. I think this Crystal Palace side is just a little too savvy for you. I think it's going to be Aston Villa 1, Crystal Palace 3.
That is correct. That's what I thought was happening here. Yeah, Crystal Palace, I watched their game against Chelsea, and Chelsea were they're awesome, right? We'll talk about them in a minute, Pulisic, all that. But Crystal Palace, for all the criticism they get in this, they're at the beach, they showed so much fight. And I mean, Christian Benteke got in on the scoring, which, by the way, Chelsea and Kepa, you let Christian Benteke score. I mean,
I don't think you can give Kepa a hard time this week, Tom. He was beaten by a rocket and a half.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that in a minute. Roy Hodgson doesn't really put out bad teams. He knows how to motivate his players, and I definitely think he's going to win here. I feel bad for Villa. They are probably... forget it. They're going down. They're not good enough to stay up, and we both know it. Palace to win 1-0.
Norwich City versus West Ham United.
So this is the match that could see Norwich officially relegated from the Premier League, and it's not a match they would want to have because West Ham are going to be looking at this and licking their lips. They win this, they're essentially safe. I mean, they'll be, I think, just below.
I'm pretty sure you've got to say they're safe. They'll be on 37 points.
Yeah.
No, 34 points, sorry.
I was going to say they'll be just below Brighton at that point, but they're not. Norwich are not good enough to be in this league, and no one can say they are. We talked about it. They have a long-term plan. They do play some pretty football at times, but they're always going to go down, and I don't think there's just no amount of fight that's going to keep them up. And this West Ham team do seem like they're going to score some goals now. They are up for it as much as they lost 1-0. They did pepper the goal today in their match. Against Burnley, West Ham really did in the second half as well, throw everything they had at Nick Pope. And we talked about this earlier with Kasper Schmeichel for Leicester City, but sometimes you just come up against a goalkeeper that's not going to let you in, and that's just the way it is. And Mikel Antonio maybe should have scored about the 60th minute or something, but I think West Ham will win this. I think they'll win this comfortably 2-0.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think West Ham, this will be the game they get the win to keep them safe. Everybody's looked at that Norwich game and done the business. Brighton, Watford. Now it's West Ham's turn to step up and do it. I've got to say, Norwich City, they've had the fixtures, haven't they, to get themselves out of trouble. If you look at this game along with that Brighton and Watford game, that is 3 winnable games. They could have had 9 points, and that would have been completely different. But they, as you say, you haven't been good enough. West Ham were unlucky against Burnley. You've already just pretty much said that. They do look a pretty decent side again. They're getting back to sort of playing some pretty consistent football, I would say. And I think Norwich will actually get a goal. And I'll tell you what, one thing just quickly. Shows you, they finally get a goal against Watford, Buendia, good goal. And then they just give it away a minute later with a soft, not matching the people up at the set piece to let Watford back into it. So I just wanted to just say that. But I think Norwich will score in this one. I think they'll get 1, but I think West Ham are going to get 3.
I'm done with this gimmick. You're definitely going to get a correct score and beat me this week. I hate it. Sheffield United versus Chelsea.
Again, we see Chris Wilder celebrating just like he did 10 years ago when he took Oxford up in the playoffs against York. They left it late against Wolves, but an incredible result. 2 bad results in a row for Wolves, but we'll get to them in a little bit. This is Egan again. The hero rescued a point in the last match against Burnley, wins the game this time out. Another fantastic result, keeps them in the hunt for Europe and an outside chance still of Champions League, or I think that's a little bit of a bridge too far, but just shows you the spirit again, not Nuno, shows you the Sheffield United spirit, and it shows you the togetherness that we've seen pretty much since the first kick of a ball this season. What do I think in this game? Tom, I've gone 3-1 in every game, but I'm breaking it for this one. I can't see it being 3-1. I think Sheffield United are good enough to get a draw here. It was 2-2 when they played at the Bridge really early on in the season. I'm going 2-2.
Yes, so Chelsea, when they attack, are just one of the best sides in the league. And Christian Pulisic, I mean, he is just absolutely flying right now. Willian's flying. Tammy Abraham got a goal in this, but they are very suspect defensively, and they can't help it. I do think that they're capable of coming in the top 4, but I don't see them beating this Sheffield United side now. Yes, that's right. 2 weeks ago, I'd marked them off. I said the sun was causing them damage. But Ian, I think you may have noticed that since I said that, it has rained constantly.
I know. I think Chris Wilder's been like Mr. Burns. He's like put a shield up over the sun.
Exactly. It's bloody freezing all the time now. It's cold. It's miserable. The only advantage is, it's still bright at 9 o'clock at night. So
it's Sheffield United weather.
It is. It's Sheffield weather, and that's how they're going to win. But, they've shown what a good squad there is. And, Egan is just an absolute machine for them. He's a rock, and he's coming up with goals now. I've got Sheffield United to win this 2-1.
Wow, it's a shock. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Everton.
Oh, the spirit is dead. Oh, no. No. He's not dead. He's not wounded. They're just a little bit tired, and they're a little bit sick of relying on only Traore and Jimenez to score goals. Basically, if those two don't score a goal, the club finds it very hard to win games right now. But at the end of the day, I love Wolves. You love Wolves. They've been fantastic. But in all probability, challenging for a top 4 spot is just a bit beyond this club right now and this team. As great as it is to have João Moutinho and Rui Patricio still playing in their late 30s, that's just not enough, I don't think, to really push them forward in this game. And it hasn't been enough to push them forward at the end of the year. But I do think it's enough to push them past Everton, who, only lost on an own goal against Spurs. And like I keep saying, I think they have all the outlines of a good fucking team and season to come ahead. But I'm not sold on them right now. And I do love Wolves. I love the spirit. I love Traore. I love Neto. I love what's his face? Dendoncker. I love Dendoncker. I love all these guys. So I've got Wolves to win. I think they'll win 2-0.
Sometimes it is about the scoreline, and sometimes it is the manner of the defeat. And Everton might have only lost 1-0 to Spurs, and you might have seen it being a narrow defeat, but they were really poor and really lackluster in that game. They had plenty of time to get back into it, and they really didn't. They really didn't offer anything. They really didn't offer anything until the last kind of minutes of the game, when they all of a sudden started throwing Yerry Mina up front and hitting the ball long to him. Yeah, no, it was really, really, really poor. You expect a lot better from Ancelotti's side. I think he's going to hope he gets a reaction out of an Everton side of this one, and I think he will. I think this one could be my second draw that I'm going for in a row. I'm going 1-1 in this one.
Watford versus Steve Bruce's Newcastle United.
I'm going to need to compose myself. So you might.
Can I just go? What in God's name?
As if go off the video.
I'm talking. What are you doing, Norwich? What are you actually doing? Watford have a new hero. His name is Danny Welbeck, and how dare you let that man back into football? How dare you? He's now going to be starting up front for Gareth Southgate. We can't trust the FA to not put him at the front anymore. Forget about Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood. Get out. It's Danny Welbeck. Watford, magnificent win over Norwich City 2-1. It was actually quite a good game. It was end-to-end, and they really put it in. Norwich, like you said, kind of just gave it away. And to let Danny Welbeck hit a freaking bicycle kick. That's right, Danny. You're getting no credit from me. None. They gave that to you. But nonetheless, Watford look pretty much like they're safe, and I think Newcastle United are going to be licking their wounds after an absolute mauling today. And as such, I see a dour 1-1 draw ahead of us.
Whew, well, Tom, they are coming up against man of peace, Steve Bruce and his Newcastle side. Last week I talked about him being a thoroughbred and how he should be on crust. This week I think he's like a United Nations spokesman. He knew that Manchester City needed that victory more than his Newcastle side, and he very graciously let them rack up a number of goals against them. But that won't be the case against this Watford side. You'll see back to fierce and snarling Bruce having his caged tigers running at this Watford side, causing all sorts of problems. Watford, you can't rely on Danny Welbeck every week, even if he does score you goals that say, Man United, look at me, this is the reason we haven't won a title for God knows how many, 20 years, is it? I don't know, something like that. Newcastle United, under Bruce, second coming of Kevin Keegan.
I will love it if we beat
are going to be far too strong for this Watford side. Watford 1, Newcastle 3.
Ian.
No. You shut up now. You've interrupted me far too much. We've had enough games where they were pretty much filler ahead of this absolute action-packed game. Which, why Premier League, you put it on as the same day and same time as Oxford are playing in the League One final. You selfish, greedy Premier League. But anyway, it's time for the main event.
Manchester United versus Southampton Saints of Southampton.
Well, we haven't seen Manchester United play Aston Villa, as we talked about earlier, but the last time they played, they were in sensational form, and they look absolutely nailed on to get a Champions League spot. To tell you more about it is our resident expert and Manchester United fan, Thomas Pickering.
I'm not going to speak for 35 minutes about Man United today. I think you all deserve a day off from that. All I'm going to say is Fernandes, Pogba, Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, done. Man United to win this game comfortably 3-0.
Unbelievable performance by Southampton. You did so well in that result against City. Brilliant goal by Che Adams. Pretty great bit of opportunistic work, getting the ball over Ederson I think that was his first league goal ever. So really well done for him. Alex McCarthy in goal. You had an absolute worldie, probably the performance of your life. Defensively, they were really good as well. It was like the siege of Southampton, and they came through and survived it. They may have to do something similar if they want to take points off this Man United side, because they look, as we say, they're in amazing form. And the Saints are good away, so I do see them getting a goal. Unfortunately, I see Man United getting 3.
But now it's time to thank people. Robert Allen, thank you for commenting. Yes, Steve Bruce winning Crufts. Yes. Jack Green, yes, Oxford in the Premier League. Coy Gunners, 11 wraps. I do apologize for being hungover when I responded to you. Fair play. Arsenal suck. Naya Ashrobi, yes, his name is Saka, not Saka. We do apologize for that slip of the tongue. We'll try not to do it again. Andrew Walters, come on, you Hammers. Tough result today, but you'll do better. Shane O'Donnell, as always, thank you so much for your comments and stuff. You had an Arsenal win. You came so close. Jack Death, all your predictions very good. Though you did have Villa to score, which I refuse to accept is going to happen. As always, Nicolaj BVD, good to hear from you. Roberto Hollis, thank you for your predictions. Anyone else that's commented that won't load on my page, thank you. Genuinely, we love doing this. We're loving the end of the season. We hope you guys are enjoying it. Please put your predictions below. Any comments you have down below. If they're rude, please just click the thumbs up, because that makes us feel awful. The more of these we get, the worse we feel. And all that's left is for me to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.